Good morning, everyone. Principal and Vice Principal Bhagubai are here. So, Sheikh sir, you will be doing the opening note, or Nita ma'am?
Yeah, myself.
Yeah. Nita ma'am is going to do the closing note for us today. Yeah. So, sir, please, you can proceed, and then I'll introduce the speakers for everyone.
A very good morning, one and all. So, myself, Dr. MZ Sheikh, on behalf of Bhagubai Mafatlal Polytechnic, I welcome all the participants and today's speakers, Mr. Saurav Gandhi as well as Chintan Kapadia. I am very happy to know just now Daksh Pandya told me that both of them are our alumni and Daksh is also our alumni. So I can say that it is a Bhagubai family function. So I welcome all of you on behalf of Bhagubai Mafatlal Polytechnic for this Entrepreneurship Online Summit 2021. Basically, this Bhagubai has produced a lot of entrepreneurs. If I give an example, the entire plastic industry has been dominated by the Bhagubai. Now the young entrepreneurs like Daksh, who has come forward even in IT as well as electronics and telecommunication. So there are a lot of startup which has been started by Bhagubai alumni. And today even the speakers are also from Bhagubai. So we have got an permission from MSME to start the incubation center at Bhagubai. When I spoke with Daksh and some other alumni, so basically the idea behind this incubation center is under one umbrella, right from idea formation to commercialization of that idea, all sort of services, including finance, including the facilitation to convert that idea into a product into a sellable product, and to commercialize it. So whatever services are required, let it be a legal services, let it be a technical resources, it should be provided under one umbrella to all the incubes. And we were very lucky to have that. I would like to thank Gajanan Badwe sir that with his consistent follow-up for past 1.5 years, we have received a permission for an incubation center by MSME. So in the initial stage, they provide the finance or the funding, seeding fund up to 15 lakh rupees for first 4 startups. And lot on in future as it progresses, then they may come forward for a few more startups to go for funding. As far as today's entrepreneurship summit is concerned, it was an idea of Mr. Daksh, and when we had a word, I was very happy to see to it that under this workshop, under this summit, all the participants are going to have really a learning feast. We are going to talk about workshop on entrepreneurship, how the incubation process goes on. Then in between, there is a tadka of digital marketing would be given by Daksh, in which he is expert. And there is going to be a pitching section by various experts. So I think it will be a feast for all the participants. Once again, I congratulated Daksh as well as Bhagubai Mafatlal Polytechnic team, Badwe sir and Neelam ma'am, all HODs who have made this event successful, and all the students who are participating. Have a nice learning, all of you. And with this, on this note, I would say that the session is inaugurated. Over to you, Daksh.
Thank you very much, sir, and thank you for your support for allowing us to conduct this event. Getting entrepreneurship e-cell into Bhagubai, I have been trying it for many years, but you fast-tracked it and now finally it's a reality. I would also like to say that, 2 of the startups that are pitching tonight, evening, they are also going to apply for the incubation process, and we will see if they get approved or not. But so we'll have our first 2 applicants today.
Sure.
So with that, thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And I will like to introduce you to the first session speakers, Mr. Saurabh Gandhi and Mr. Chintan Kapadia. I'll start with Mr. Saurabh Gandhi. He is an alumni and my batchmate, my classmate. We have been friends for, I think, more than 22 years. He is a very technically sound person. He has experience in embedded system. Now he's working with an Israeli startup into face recognition technology. And Mr. Chintan Kapadia is also our classmate, batchmate, and he has knowledge in finance as well as IT. He had an option to choose IT, and he could have also become a debt fund manager. So that is the kind of level of knowledge that he has. So I'll share the I'll ask the speakers to start the session. I'll ask first question to Mr. Saurabh Gandhi. Please share your journey from Bhagubai till date, where you have worked for various startups, you have worked for big corporates, and now you are working for Israeli startup. So working with Israeli startup. So how was your experience technically? What all skills have you developed, and what is your if you could share your journey, I'm sure a lot of people here would learn a lot from you.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Daksh. Firstly, it's great to be on this panel and kind of nostalgic because being associated once again with the academic fraternity. Having said that, I think you've asked a question which deserves a long answer, but I'll try to make it short just to begin with. In terms of my introduction, I have been an alumni of Bhagubai Mafatlal Polytechnic. I'm from the industrial electronics batch, joined in 99, passed out in 2003, and fortunate to have worked in the same batch as people like Chintan, Daksh, and a lot of inspiration from professors all across. After my diploma, I actually went for a degree in electronics. So I completed a BE in electronics from Vivekanand. One of the things which I would say is when I entered the degree college, there was like a stigma which is generally associated with a lot of diploma guys who join degree, that they are perceived to be not so good in mathematics. So when we entered the degree college in the second year, we had this kind of fear that as diploma people we need to take special care and emphasis on mathematics, because degree is if you compare the degree course with diploma, I'm not sure how it's now, but during that time degree was a lot about mathematics, and there was an undue advantage which people had when they joined degree from a 12th background rather than coming from a diploma. So this was like a turning point, because it in turn I would say shaped up my focus in degree, and that's what kind of got me interested more into mathematics. Now mathematics being associated with a lot of allied courses like signal processing, image processing, so that's where I happened to develop a strong interest. So when I passed out from degree, I was actually quite fond of image processing and video analytics as a subject, and that's what I have pursued throughout my career. Daksh mentioned early on that I am working with an Israeli startup right now, which is in the field of facial recognition. But it is actually like a journey which I would say it's an unplanned one, but no, things happen, and you continue to engage with what is happening based on the skill sets that you've acquired during your academic phase. So that's what resulted in this. So just to give you a background, right from the time I passed out, I was actually I joined an IIT Bombay-based startup. We were into the field of education management, and that's where I would say I got to do a lot of groundwork. So the general feeling that I had when I passed out from the degree college is that a lot of big companies do all the good work, and I ended up joining Siemens initially. Uh, I had a short stint with Siemens, just 4 months, because I figured out that most of these multinational companies who have their base in India, they do all the good work out. Let's say if Siemens is a German company, most of the good work is done out in Germany, and the post sales and customer engagement is what is left to the Indian fraternity, and that's what I believe strongly, although it is not something which you could generalize, but in most cases that is true. So for all the engineering students out there, I would advise you that if you get an opportunity to work in a smaller company or a startup during the initial phase of your career, do not shy away. Do whatever it takes, because since you are in the early phases, I think you can compromise on a lot of things, which will in fact add value in terms of your skill set, and then help you, engage and build a much deeper career as you go further. So that's something which kind of laid the foundation stone, being associated with a startup. And thereafter, I was also working with a bigger company. So I was with this startup for almost 3 years. Post which I joined Godrej. It was in the field of security solutions. So when I say security solutions, we were into CCTV cameras, which everyone knows these days, and the importance of security cameras. But what our focus area was to build intelligence on top of these cameras. So I was associated with some products which could automate the security workflow. So for example, if you have a camera in your building, it is kind of a dumb device, but what makes it intelligent is you add algorithms on top of it. So it can gather information like license plates, faces of people, so on and so forth. So that's something which I was associated with for almost close to 9 years, and from there on, I think life came a full circle for me, because I again joined another startup with an Israeli company. So I think people who are aware of Israel would know that it's called the startup nation. If you look at the amount of startups which come out globally, most of them come out of Tel Aviv, and these startups are a mix of software and hardware. So Israel is one of the strongest nation when it comes to sensors and those kind of technologies. And so over the past 2.5 years that I have been with this company, it's been a good journey, and a more satisfying one, because I have the liberty of looking at the complete life cycle of engagement with a customer, right from the time they have a pain point in mind to the time that we actually harness technologies like facial recognition to solve a real problem which they have. So that's something which I have been doing. Yeah, so that's it.
Yeah, and he's saying startup, but it's a huge one. What is the figure? I forgot. Your startup has raised money recently, 200 some $1 million.
Yeah, so we recently got funded from the SoftBank. We raised 235 million US dollars. This is just last week that was raised, and we are now on the expansion as far as the Asia Pacific region is concerned, where India happens to be one of the biggest markets, both from a security standpoint as well as an enterprise standpoint.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Saurabh. Now, I'd like to ask Chintan to share his journey from Bhagubai to IT to managing debt in the finance market and again IT. So, Chintan, if you could share your insights and your experience with us.
Thanks, Daksh. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, thank you once again, Daksh, and thanks to the Bhagubai management faculty for inviting us to be part of this panel. I think, like Saurabh said, it's really nostalgic to be here, and we have, always looked back with a lot of happiness, joy, and a lot of excitement whenever we think about Bhagubai days. And all those 4 years that we spent there. So Daksh asked me to join this panel today, and I was a bit hesitant because I don't have a journey that is very well planned. I call myself a fresher even after like 12 or 13 years, because I've done so many flip flops, so many turns in my career that it's confusing sometimes. But I like the way I didn't plan it, and I have gained a lot from each of those experiences. So just to give you a glimpse of how my journey has been, like we were all batchmates. We passed out in 2003. We pursued a degree in engineering, and thereafter my journey began, because I had graduated. I had put in 7 years of electronics, and then I just put a full stop to all of that, and I joined a programming company. I mean, I was working for Wipro Technologies as a programmer. So I learned .NET programming, Java programming from scratch, and I did that for about 2.5 years. But there begins my journey. I mean, there once again I took a U-turn. I took admission to KJ Somaiya College of Management for a degree in management and finance. See, a lot of these decisions I ended up taking because of the ecosystem we are in, because of my family background, because of the friends and chatter, and what we see and keep hearing on news every day. I had this inclination for finance. So when I got this opportunity, I was hesitant because at that point of time, in the last 3 years, I had put in 7 years of engineering, 2.5 years of programming, and then I'm doing something again that's new, that's finance. Okay, that's completely different area from what I've been doing for the last 10 years. So I did that, and thereafter I joined a very interesting place called Securities Trading Corporation of India, where I was managing money. Okay, I was managing, like you see these guys on TV, on business channels, who manage your equity investments. I was managing debt investments, okay, fixed income instruments. So we buy and sell bonds, we buy and sell treasury bills, and we do that for ourselves, as in that firm, and for clients. So it was a very exciting job, very pressure driven. I used to watch CNBC at like 5 or 6 in the morning to see where crude oil has been, to see how the American markets behave, all of that, and I did that for about 2.5 years again. So very exciting place, very intense, and but that it does get to you at some point of time. You cannot. It should be within yourself, that you want to continue this pressure-laden life for the rest of your life. And for some people, it's not always pressure. They take it naturally. For some people, managing comes naturally. For me, it wasn't. I found that place very exciting, very intense. But then after a point of time, I didn't want to do it for the rest of my life. So then I came back to IT, but then I pursued a different role once again. Okay, I chose to be a business analyst, and there I did a variety of roles. I was working with Royal Bank of Canada. I was working with Citigroup. I was working with Credit Suisse, with Nomura. I did a couple of roles with all these banks in different areas. So I'm sure many of you have had friends or relatives working in these investment banks. So there are these investment banks, or these places have grown beyond imagination. They are so wide in terms of scale, huge in capacity, in manpower, in functions, in all the places that it's like a sea. Okay, I traveled with them. I traveled to US also for a couple of years, and I was on site working with these clients for helping them build up these IT systems. Okay, as a business analyst. And once again, like I call myself a fresher till date. I did that for a couple of years, and now I'm working for a product company. So I joined this place about 2.5 years ago, called Calypso, and we are into treasury management software. Okay, so we design software for treasury banks, for treasury management systems of the banks. So once again, banks that buy, sell equities, bonds, do a lot of exotic trading, manage huge billions and millions of dollars of money. So we help design systems for these people. And once again, the scale of these systems, the depth, I mean, finance altogether has become so complex, so vast, so different from what it was, like a decade or 2 decades ago. That I'm sure you guys know, right? There is CFA, there is FRM, and there are concepts, and these concepts are evolving even today. I mean, CFA, what it used to be like 5 years ago, has changed. Today there are new concepts, new things coming up. So here I am. We are working with a couple of banks based in the Middle East, some of them based in Africa, to help them design their treasury management software. Okay, so that's been my journey. As I told you, there was a lot of flip-flop from engineering to IT to finance to banks, and now to a product management company. So that's been my journey. And once again, yeah, Daksh, it's great to be here. I'm
Thank
open
you,
to
sir.
any.
Yeah. See, life is a flip-flop. If your life is a straight line, that it means you are dead, right? So nobody's life can go as planned. Everyone has the ups and downs, and so yeah, that's there. But now I'm going to ask, like y'all have so much vast experience in across sectors, but I want to learn that in 5 minutes. We have budding entrepreneurs here, we have young engineers here. So what is your advice on what skill sets can they work on? Suppose if they want to follow a path in finance, or say in embedded, or the technologies your work you guys are working on, what skill set should they focus on? That's one question. And another one is, if I want to start a business in your sector, what is the opportunity you see post COVID? So things have changed. Nobody would have imagined 3 years ago that we'll do an online event and we'll see each other on, say, this video conferencing platform. So over the past 18 months, the theaters, multiplexes, which were a billion-dollar industry, have gone down, and OTT platforms have gone up. So you've seen a lot of flip-flops across sectors. So in your specific experience or niche, do you spot any business opportunities post-COVID? Yeah, any one of you can start answering, whoever is ready, I guess.
Sir, we want to go first?
Yeah. So I'll answer your second question first, Daksha.
Yeah, sure.
With regards to business opportunities, I think over the last 1 year, there has been definitely a lot of impact on business. And primarily, it has got to do with businesses in the hospitality segment, in the entertainment industry, where people required to be physically present for the businesses to flourish. But what we've also realized of late is that this COVID wave is driving digital transformation. So there are opportunities that are being created which did not exist, and at the same time there were opportunities which existed, but they were not being taken as seriously as they are now. So I would say, at least for the high tech segments which involve any kind of automation. So automation is a very broad term, and you can put IoT under automation, you can put AI, machine learning, everything under. So any segment or domain that you pick, and if you can help in automating their business process such that it is giving value to the business, it is going to flourish. And at the same time, COVID is going to drive that, so more than before. And I'll give you a simple example. No, we had this from my background. We had this product since almost 3 to 4 years in the market, which we call as touchless access control. So if you look at most of the access controls being used by organizations or government entities these days, they are all based on plastic cards where you swipe a proximity card and gain entry into a controlled space. Now these guys always had an option all this while to move from either a card-based system, which is of course prone to a lot of vulnerabilities, because card is subject to a proxy swiping. For example, I can give you my card and you can gain an entry. So it always had this inherent drawback, but somehow the demand did not pick up for alternate techniques like biometrics. Now, to some extent, fingerprint was again a technology which was used, but face was never considered all this while. But with COVID coming in, suddenly surface contact has been the biggest concerns that people have, and that has in turn driven organizations to look at facial recognition. So that's how things are being perceived. And over the past year, of course, I would say in terms of businesses, people have been engaging, trying to understand, because moving out of your comfort zone is not easy. So you might engage with a lot of technologies, but you still feel that okay, I am more comfortable on the primitive techniques. But sooner or later, if this wave continues for a year or longer, which we are seeing that it will continue, people will have to adopt to alternative techniques, and that's what is going to drive the automation wave. Now there was a study last month from Deloitte which mentioned that India is one of the least prepared markets in the Asia Pacific for automation. So that tells that there is even more opportunity out here, because we are least prepared as far as automation is concerned. And that is where the new generation of companies or even the existing companies will have to drive this digital transformation, so that they can make workplaces safer, and at the same time, if there are businesses which are operating with leaner workforces, because I'm sure there would have been a lot of downsizing done by a lot of big companies, who would then have realized that downsizing is a temporary thing, but they need to maintain the same levels of service. So in order to maintain the same levels of service, they need automation. So that's going to be one big business opportunity as per me.
Okay. And about the skill sets?
Skill sets is a tough one, especially being from the electronics industry or from the high-tech domain.
Yeah.
What I generally see is that there were some skills which I learned. So if we talk of technologies in specific, I don't think the technologies of yesterday will be relevant today, or for that matter, whatever is being taught in colleges today will be relevant a few years from now. But what is still important is that you get the fundamentals right. For example, if programming these days might be done on platforms like Python, you have Erlang, these kind of languages. But if you have the basic object-oriented fundamentals that you have still gained while doing C programming or C++ or Java back in your college times, I think it is going to help. You need to have an open mind, and especially if you are in the tech industry, you need to continue to be a student all your life. So that's where you have to keep your lifelong learning open, because technologies will come and go, but having the fundamentals in the right place will take you further from there. And overall, I do feel that youngsters have a bit more advantage. So if you look at people who have passed out 20 years back or 15 years back, they will adapt. But there is going to be a time when youngsters will be able to do, in terms of programming, the same level of productivity which a 15-year-old or a 20-year-old might give. So that's when you need to constantly see and introspect as to what is it that will justify your business value in the company. So you might not keep on pursuing a technical career all life long. You might become a manager, a business analyst, a pre-sales, in a more customer-facing role, where whatever you have acquired all this time, the hard skills plus the soft skills, because communication skill is going to be very, very important now, and it is going to be more important than before, because you don't get a chance to express your body language now. You are using a lot of online tools, and that is where you need to be very crisp in whatever you communicate, whether it is through the audio channel, through social media, through virtual video conferencing, so on and so forth. So that's something which will help.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Saurabh. Chintan, what about you? What would you like to share?
Uh, so I would like to extrapolate some of those points Saurabh said, and I have 2 or 3 examples that I would just like to share. Over the last decade or decade and a half of experience, some of the people that happen to be entrepreneurs today. I would just like to point out those 2 or 3 examples. But yes, coming back to the later part of your question and extrapolate from what Saurabh said. I think 2 skill sets I have thoroughly observed, in everyone who became successful and who's gone up the corporate ladder or who's become entrepreneur. One is networking, and second is the communication part that Saurabh mentioned. I think all those people who have gone a notch or two above, the rest of the colleagues or rest of the team members is, they were excellent communication. They were excellent in communication, and they knew where to connect with the right people, how to get things done. And here I'll bring in 2 or 3 examples, one in each of the fields that I have seen. So in terms of consulting, right? So since I've worked in different diverse fields and different areas, the broad theme of entrepreneurship I see back then and even today, which has not gone down with COVID, which has not changed anywhere, is consulting. All right, you can become a one-man consultant. You can create a team of consultants, and you can head that as a business. So this consulting field is here, and it's going to stay forever. At least for the next foreseeable future. In terms of technology, okay, so there are so many people I've seen who were excellent in technology, and over a period of time they started managing projects. Okay, they could take client requirement from like mid-sized clients, and they could actually execute them by creating a team of their own. And once they did that for a 2 or 3 projects, 2 or 3 clients, they did they started out on their own and they actually built enterprise who can deliver such things. So that's one thing I've seen in technology and consulting. I've seen umpteen number of people who could manage and execute with those 2 skill sets I just pointed out, communication and networking, and they have gone up to create their own enterprise. That's one. Second is with respect to finance. Okay, you may be an excellent chartist, or one can be an excellent equity analyst, do all the rigorous calculations, speak tons and tons on CNBC TV 18 and on all business channels. But people who did that with a lot of ease, with a lot of reasonable confidence, and who could convince their clients that no matter how much things change, the world change, I will let you sleep. Already, when I give my money to someone, whether it's 25 lakhs, 50 lakhs, or whatever, or even crores of money, right? Hundreds of crores of money. What that other person wanted, there are some people who are aggressive risk takers, but by and large, people want to sleep peacefully, right? They want that you protect my capital first. Whether it's 50 lakhs or 50 crores, you protect my capital first. Let me sleep peacefully. So these kind of people who silently manage your money, who don't create a lot of fuss, who deliver on client expectations with reasonable returns, with reasonable confidence. That is again something I've seen people, grow from a very small brokerage to become entrepreneurs who are managing portfolios nowadays. And they don't come on TV. They don't always write on fancy business channels and business. But these are people again who have created a lot of value in terms of creating. And the third one, I see that is an emerging area in business and finance and technology is people who are building automated trading systems. Okay, algorithmic trading. So algorithmic trading, or you can say automatic robo-managed portfolios. Okay, these are portfolio management services where you feed in what kind of criteria you want, and that through strategies. I'm sure many of the budding people here who know what is Python programming. So Python programming is huge. Okay, You can feed in strategies. You can do a lot of jugglery with respect to how you want to manage money. And I've seen like big banks, big fancy equity trading houses hire PhDs or hire PhDs who are in PhDs in mathematics who know how to deliver Python programming. And these people are small consultancy on their own, right? They come on freelance for these trading houses for these banks, and they execute for their trading strategy, and it's like consultancy on their own. So this is something I see emerging. In fact, even if you see news channels and you see editorials and business newspapers, you will find this is an emerging trend that's been there for the last 10 or 15 years, but I only see that growing. So automated portfolio management services, technology-based portfolio management services is something I see as a very strong area in the next decade. Yes, that's
yeah. Thank you very much. One more question I would like to ask you, Chintan, is see, engineers, we have young engineers here. If somebody wants to do something in fintech, I'm sure they have the analytical mind, and programming maybe they are, but your combination is unique. You are good in finance, you are good in IT. So if he has to build some basics, is it necessary for him to have that some basics? Suppose if I'm an engineer, young engineer, I want to start a automated portfolio managing software. Okay, I can code very well, but I'll need to understand the parameters of ROI or price to equity ratio, or whatever the market, whatever the parameters are there, which I have to analyze. Suppose if somebody wants to gain some insight knowledge in that, can it, like you have a combination of IT finance, what steps should they take to gain that knowledge? As in,
so.
Yeah.
However, it's a difficult question in a way, because see, these it may not always be planned, but how if I were young and I were to follow this path, how would I do it? Is first of all, you need some kind of organized education in this field. Okay, you cannot learn everything on the internet. Okay, that's not possible. Nor can you do it everything on my own. So I would need some organized institutional education in these areas. So it could be a business degree, or it could be a chartered financial degree from the American institutes or from the Indian institutes. And with regards to IT, there are a lot of web-based, or again, institutional ways to learn high-tech programming like Python, and even within Python, do statistics in Python. So these two things, having an organized degree in respect to the finance field, institutional education, and learn high-tech programming. Could be Python, could be full stack programming, Java, all of this. That could be by way of institutional, or one can do it by themselves. But you need these two combinations before you can foresee a future in this technology-based portfolio management.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I think the time just flew and we are about to end our session now. Lastly, I would like you all to give any piece of advice to the young engineer on how to proceed with. So, any conclusion remark, any other piece of advice you would like to share? It may not be related to technology or startup. Anything, your words of wisdom for a young engineer. Like I remember Saurabh used to say, innovate or die. so something like that. In what way will you like the young engineers to be inspired? So,
Chintan, what do you?
Sorry.
Okay. No, so something if I were to look back on how I was a student, and I see a lot of students today, one thing that I missed out on, and I would like to advise any students today is see everything. You can be a very hard worker, you can be brilliant communicator, you can be. But one thing I would like to see is maturity and the wisdom part. Okay, and that doesn't come by reading books. That doesn't come by howsoever hard worker you may be and howsoever top ranker or smart you may be. It comes by going out on the field, working, getting your hands dirty. So how I think you're all out of school. You're all out of school. Go out and work. I mean, it could be something as small as a small marketing job. Could be something, a restaurant maybe needing somewhere on cash accountant services or something. But go out and work and get your hands dirty. I think that is important. By the time you get out of your education these days, I don't know, people do. I mean, it's common, right? Diploma, degree, masters, maybe a post graduation, several post graduation PhDs. After that, by the time you're out of your education, you are too late. I mean, in terms of catching up with the real world, where the real world is. So go out and get your hands dirty. Go and work. That's it. So could be part time, could be consulting very well. That's it.
Thank you, Chintan. What about you, Saurabh?
I would say one thing which I would like to add on all that we spoke specifically for the students is it is important it is an extension of what Chintan said. So he said networking is very important, but as a student, how do you ensure that you build the right network? Because nowadays physical meetings are scarce. So that is where I would advise all of the students to have a good online persona. It can be through a portfolio that you build on a blog or on LinkedIn, but make sure that you have an online persona which is reflective of all the good work that you are doing, because it is very important to market yourself and then to reach out to people as much as possible, because unless you do these two things, however good you might be, it is all up to you. So these are two pieces of advice that I have to share.
Okay, I thank you both for joining today, and really it was a wonderful session. We got a lot of insights from you guys. I'm sure young budding entrepreneurs and engineers will have gained something out of it. I thank you on behalf of Bhagubai, as well as thank you from me personally for taking out time in your busy schedule and joining us today. Yeah, so thank you all.